Good morning. Hope everybody's feeling great today and this morning after last night. I'm going to be talking about people and machines by way of a series that we've been doing at Essence called The New Fundamentals. Programmatic and our access to data is changing the way that we think about audience and what we've historically built in terms of media plans and understanding of our audiences. It's not sufficient to think about our audience terminating at 18 to 35 male. Now there's data at a very granular level that allows us to go past that. So we'll talk about how that's changing some parts of our business and how people and machines are helping us do that. Just a quick kind of note on creds. Essence Digital is a full service media agency in digital. We're kind of best kept secret in the market. We're the largest independent media buyer in the world. We focus on three pillars of data science, objective media, and captivating experience. I think data science is one of the most interesting things that we do. Their ability to measure and analyze and go deep with our clients is really important to us. We're a global agency and a single agency at that, so everybody is an Essence employee across the world. These are just some of the clients that we work with. Some big names up there. Google is kind of our premier client. We're the digital agency of record for them globally. And a little bit about how we do programmatic and how deep we're going. We have, if you stay here, 500 plus programmatic media partnerships. I think that's approaching 800 pretty rapidly. Quite a bit in billables, and then the things that we think about that we bring to our clients. It's not something they ask for, but things that we are actively investigating. Viewability, optimal frequency, and optimizing to that optimal frequency. Brand safety, of course, very, very important for many of our clients, and audience validation, making sure that we're sending our message out to a person and not a robot, right? Things where we think are really important. So, back to those fundamentals, it's not, programmatic is a really great kind of idea, and there's a switch to flip for us to be able to access audiences, and it's all well and good, but it's not just about placing a tag and then running media and thinking that we're all done. It's really getting close to the objective for the client that you're working with in their business, the audience that you're seeking, the goals for that audience, and aligning with the consumer journey. Just because we know that someone's been to the site before, just because we know that someone owns some part of our product ecosystem, we have to understand where to send that person, or if they don't have any experience with our brand, how do we get them to learn about the brand? Being really clear about action. I'll talk about this a little bit when we get to how we construct our plans and what the building blocks are, and then learnings. I think there are near-term measurement plan learnings for our campaigns that are really important to us, like what are we learning when we're optimizing, but establishing long-term learnings and a learning agenda when we can develop things like custom technology to suit very complicated problems is where I think we excel. So these are some of those developing fundamentals. These are ideas that we've had kind of historically in the business that are changing pretty dramatically, and I'll key on one of them, but to just go through them really quick. Understanding the audience, like I said, data is unlocking different audiences to go after, and our understanding of that audience is becoming rapidly different, and the skill set to understand that audience is different now. Matching the message, so our opportunity to do really interesting creative to address these audiences is also changing. Imagine, informing creative with data, something we were never able to do previously, but it's important to get our partners in the creative agencies and in-house creative to all understand, look, these are the opportunities, and to develop some really cool experiences for that. Protect yourself at all times. This is the fundamental that I'll be delving deeper into today. Allowing greatness. This is not a solved ecosystem. These problems are not solved. We have to still take chances and try to be interesting. I think programmatic can be quite dull if we could get down to it. It's an audience, and I set a bid, and I'm ready to go, and that's it. But there are interesting ways to treat these audiences that we should be allowing ourselves. Finally, be thoughtful and objective. Take a step back. If I'm in my client's shoes, and I should always be thinking that way, what would I want? How would the selection for my tech stack look like? How would I want pricing to be developed and presented to me, things like that. So protect yourself at all times. This is a boxing or combat sports reference. When you get in the ring at the beginning of a fight and the ref is giving you the instructions, the last thing he says before you go back to your corner is protect yourself at all times. That means that just because the bell rings at the end of a round doesn't mean you're also going to get punched in the face because the guy's not stopping. So keep your hands up and be thinking about the things that are assets but also could be liabilities. So understanding what the opportunity is with your technology and the people. Tech can help, but tech can also hurt you. Your people have to be savvy. This is the, we're going to talk about the emerging skill set and the way that that the people on my team, the people on the teams in-house are changing. Making a plan. I'll talk a little bit about this and how we're starting from some very basic data elements and then growing a plan. And finally, interrogate your plan. Take it to the people in the team, take it to their planners, take it to your data science people and say, am I thinking about this right? What else could I be doing? Take it to your investment people. Are there publishers that I should be working with that have access to something that I might not be thinking about? Just over and over and over again, interrogate. So the way that I think about technology, having been on the brand side for most of my career and building in-house teams and bringing tech inside is, I want to own that relationship with my ed tech partner if I'm the client. And that's something we allow at Essence that you won't see at many other agencies. If I decide to make a change as a client, from one agency to the other potentially, or to adjust the engagement model as we're seeing many developing engagement models, I need to own that platform so that cookie data, I maintain the ownership of. Any of the data management platform data I maintain ownership of, and the accountability is mine. I want that tech to be accessible. Obviously, ownership gives me some implied access, but I want to be able to see, maybe in a read-only format, what my campaigns are doing, how the optimizations are going. Be able to pull my own reports. I think as the skill set changes on the brand side, people that are more willing to pull their own reports or do their own analysis. There's an increased partnership, and we should be fostering that. In the same vein, transparent. Things like, why am I selecting this tech partner? What is the originally negotiated rate when I'm approaching a publisher? How is that being translated all the way back to my client? I think custom is probably the most important one. There's no one-stop shop solution for any piece of ad tech in the industry, in my opinion. It really depends on the client, what data they have access to, what their objectives are, where they spend most of their money. Am I going to gravitate towards a more Facebook-oriented solution, or is it something that the Open Exchange is going to be able to handle for me really well because I have a lot of first-party data? Am I going to be doing a lot of PMPs? There's just a lot we have to understand about the client and then the consumer to make the right selection. I'm going a little long, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. Hire savvy people. There's some things that we really need to build as an understanding within the people in our organization, especially on the brand side. First is database knowledge. Like in my last couple jobs, SQL knowledge or SQL proficiency, at least being able to read a basic query, we've started to become really important. We know that there's BI teams or analytics teams that are inside of our organizations typically, but having access to that database should be allowed for me to be able to do my job and dig deeper into the data. We're going to be compiling log level information for billions and billions of people. We need to be able to sort through that really quickly, and having the expertise on hand is important. Statistical proficiency. You might have a team doing media mix modeling for you, or your agency is doing some analysis for you, but within my team on the agency and within the team on the brand side, we recommend everybody have a pretty good understanding of what an autoregressive moving average model looks like and how we calculate that. A bit of a background. I think this is pretty simple. At minimum, something like search, people that understand how a bidded model works. And that ranges everything from having operated a search campaign and bidding up and down keywords to being able to describe the nuances between a multiple bidder and a single bidder, and helping make changes to bidding algorithms and things like that. Organized. This is complex. We start to develop, tens, hundreds of line items potentially by campaign, having overlapping audiences and different bidding rules. We need to have people that are very smart and very organized. Things can get sticky really quick. Let's build a plan. So what do we start from? Data. Data are the building blocks of any plan. What we need to do is understand what the most granular elements of data that we have access to are, both in first-party data, where I can go into a data warehouse, do either CRM onboarding or do an ID match with my client's database, pull over offline files, look at first-party data in remarketing and site remarketing. All these elements, we put them together and we build audiences. So we take those building blocks and I say, if I want to access this type of person and send them this message, and this type of person and send them this message, I might start with a very large audience comprised primarily of first-party data, and then do microsegments to identify the performance from there, or do audience expansion with second and third-party data. Executing. So there's a kind of basic Venn diagram here, and something that we need to think about is I might have an audience here and an audience here, and those audiences are not usually exclusive. There's typically a lot of overlap. We need to understand what that overlap looks like, and then how to separate that overlap so we're not potentially bidding against ourselves or bombarding our audience with too many messages. So we introduce a third element as a bid priority. If you'd like to talk about it, I'd love to after the show. So using a strategy, just as I've described, in first-party data primarily, creating microsegments for identifying performance, doing expansion with second and third-party data. We've done a case study where first-party data revealed a 17-point lift in awareness. This is for a consumer brand that actually had a quite high baseline, so we're really happy with the results here. And that's it. You want to have the right resources in terms of people and machines and data to address your problems. Programmatic is this intersection between media and technology that I think requires some really smart people. I'm lucky enough to have my team in the room who I inherited 7 months ago, and they're really smart kids, and I love working with them. That's it. I'm here for questions. I think I have 3.5 minutes or so.
Yeah, let's definitely open up for questions if there are any. I know it's morning, it's early. Yeah. Please, one brave soul out there.
Raise your hand if everybody on your team knows SQL, right? I don't see anybody raising their hand. Yeah, you got one? Analytics?
Analytics and media and app and client services.
Awesome, yeah. Necessary skill set in the near future.
Oscar, I mean, a lot of the talk about talent and about people is kind of set around whether it should be something you do internally through lots of training or something you should hire out for. I'm curious how you guys approach it.
Yeah, I think for sufficiently large advertisers, there's kind of a mathematical solution to go in-house, and whether that's completely in-house or whatever the engagement model looks like. I think there's ways to do that. I think there's 2 barriers to going in-house. Actually, there's really only one barrier to going in-house, and it's the talent. It's the people. If you cannot be fully in-house unless you have the right people. So understand where you want to be eventually, and we can help you do that with a kind of a strategic framework. And then understand how you can get there, and that's eventually hiring the right people, having an agency or some other kind of partnership with ad tech and managed services or self-serve get you to where you want to be. But once you hire all the right people, then you're there. But I think we discussed a little bit yesterday about the competition for people right now is pretty crazy. I mean, I've been doing programmatic for a while. It was only started to be called programmatic like 2 years ago, so I got to trade up for a really cool title, and here we are. But there's not that many of us that have this kind of experience. In 3 years, I think everybody's going to have this level of depth in the field.
And I'm curious if you kind of speak to how transparency relates to Essence, and specifically dealing with clients who might be new to programmatic and want a more transparent look into how it functions.
I have conversations with the current clients, prospective clients, large and small alike, and everybody has questions about programmatic, and I'm happy to sit down and kind of talk through what I've done on the brand side before and how I think about their business, and we discuss what their corporate objectives are first, right? Let's start with the big picture and then understand what media is going to do to impact that, and then where it makes sense to develop an engagement model that mixes some self-serve and some in-house operation with the things that we can provide. And then at the end of the day, we want to be able to say, look, this is all the stuff that we've done for you. My people have done this amount of work. The tech costs this. We're not bearing anything. This is the originally negotiated price for the media. This is how we performed. And we have a really frank conversation about how we did it.
So you're very transparent about everything.
All the way up and down. Yeah.
Gotcha. We have time for one quick question, if there is one. Mike?
Thank you. Wow, I don't have much of a voice this morning. Thanks, John. You mentioned isolating optimal frequency. Obviously, it can be a difficult thing to manage when you're dealing across a series of different publishers, ad networks. We've found ad serving environments and cross-device issues to be kind of the biggest challenge for that. How are you guys controlling for that?
Yeah, we've developed some proprietary technology to understand exposure across multiple platforms where we have access to log level information, and then get down to a mutual understood identification for each person that includes, device ID is a very persistent, identifier for individuals, where we can cross over with first-party data to some sort of online identity, be it a cookie or, some sort of like first-party ID is preferable. Then we can isolate what a single person is, understand their exposure across multiple platforms, understand when we can predict they're going to have an exposure that is too high, reaching in the 20 plus frequency in a month or something along those lines, and then add them to a suppression list and get them to not be served advertising. So we did a lot of work regarding that particular project not too long ago, and it's been, we've saved hundreds of millions of dollars for a number of our clients.
Excellent. I think that's all the time we have. Thank you, Oscar.
Thanks.